After all this time, I finally got to see it. Was it worth it? What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Reptastic, where movies and entertainment are our reputation. So, The New Mutants. I finally get to talk about this daggum movie. The New Mutants follows the story of 5 young mutants who are trapped in a facility against their will, where they fight to escape their sins and their past. So I finally get to talk about this movie after it being released maybe a month and a half ago, finally, because my theater finally opened up this past Friday. So I was finally able to sit my butt down in a theater seat since March. So I was finally able to make that trip, sit down, and watch that freaking thing. And I gotta say, it wasn't all that bad. As everyone knows, this film has been delayed so many times, nobody knew that it was actually going to come out. Like, at all. Even the actors themselves didn't think that it was going to be released at all, thinking that they'd done all that hard work for nothing. Its original date was supposed to be April 13th of 2018. And then they pushed it to February 19th of 2019, which I definitely remember hearing of that news. For reshoots. I'll get into that later. The third time was for August 2nd of 2019 because of the Disney/Fox merger. So they had to put everything on hold until they made their little dealy deal. And then they moved it again for April 3rd of 2020 to make room for Dark Phoenix. And then they moved it again. Like several times they jumbled it up throughout the summer. But when this pandemic hit, God, I feel really sorry for the filmmakers of this film. But luckily enough, it finally got released on August 28th. Which is like 2 months ago or something. But like I said, my theater finally opened, so I was finally able to see it for myself. But that's why this film is considered a curse. Nobody thought this movie was going to ever be released. But it finally worked out for the best. So setting aside all my ramblings, let's get into the positives of The New Mutants. The story. I thought it was a good story. It's just about these 5 young mutants trying to figure out where they were, and they were just being held by their will in this facility that turns out to be bigger than themselves, which I won't ruin, but it does explain a lot. You get the vibe from the trailer that something's up, something's wrong. And the story makes it very clear, and it's very claustrophobic, it's very dark, it's got a very dark tone to it. Which brings me to the horror elements. Yes, the trailer showed a lot. Not too much. Not for it to spoil anything, but you knew that there was horror elements in this, and I loved it. I actually liked it. It's one of those different type of superhero movies, which I wouldn't even consider this a superhero movie. Nobody except for the mutants themselves was really in danger. You know, there wasn't no Captain America scenes in this where you save somebody off on a bridge. Nothing like that happened in this. But it was still a good movie. I'm not downgrading it or anything, but it was still a good movie. But the horror elements really worked. It really worked for me, seeing how I'm a horror fanatic and a superhero fanatic. So you get the best of both worlds in this.
Who's there?
And the characters was written really well. All but one, which I'll get into later in the negatives. But this movie dealt on a very characteristic level. It was very character driven. And what made the horror elements work so well is that they bring up their past. Each character has a dark past, a dark tone past. That's what really helped the horror elements, because a lot of it was not good at all. I thought the characters in this was really well written. When you get a movie like this, it's more about the story than anything else, which is really good. You make a movie and you do a story good enough, that's the most important thing. Think of it as gas to a car. I mean, without the gas, the car won't run. Without a story, a movie won't work. And that's what this movie brought out. I think the story really worked, and I think the characters was written really well, and it shows a lot of heart in a lot of them, and a lot of emotional depth. I just felt like they all maintained a sense of heart and meaning for what they've been through. You were with them the whole way. I mean, I was with them the whole way anyway. You got one character that was shy, didn't want to talk about his past, and you got another one that was just a straight up hard ass, just mean as can be. Another one that was all mystified, you don't know a thing about this person, but then revealed later on. It gave you that boost to want to really find out about these characters, and because of that, you were really with them the whole way. down the slide of their own emotional roller coaster. Like I said, it's very character driven, but it still maintained that X-Men feel. This movie is still in the world of X-Men, even though it's way different from the others. You still get that X-Men world feel. I mean, they even mention it in the film to let you know that it's a part of that same world. But it's more about the characters than anything else, is the vibe I got, with a dash of horror in there. Speaking of which, the tie-in to the X-Men movies. I really love it. You get a lot of continuity issues as the sequels proceed, and you keep on continuing making sequels. They just tend to forget the ones before after a certain amount. And I feel like this whole franchise has actually done really well with that. I mean, they hadn't really missed anything. And they made sure that you actually understand that this is the part of that verse. And that's what they definitely do in this film, in the New Mutants. It didn't veer away at all. Without giving anything away, I won't spoil anything, but it even showed certain scenes from another film in this series, in this entire series, that definitely let you know. And when that scene came up, I was like, oh, I recognize that scene. Awesome. Even though it showed a little bit of that, this movie still maintained a solo act. And it is a movie within itself. A story within itself, sprinkled in with a little bit of a continuity background, and to make sure that you know that it's a part of the X-Men verse. And I really love that. The look and feel was fantastic. Peter Deming did a wonderful job. He added a dark tone to it. Like I said, it had horror elements mixed in with superhero elements. And what Peter Deming did with the cinematography and the lighting, it made it feel like a horror film, like a straight up horror film. Especially with the tense scenes and when they were getting into the characters' pasts. It made it all worthwhile. And I thought the lighting and the textures and all of that really worked for this film. And I gotta talk about the reshoots. Wait, did I say reshoots? What reshoots? They never got around to it because of the Disney Fox acquisition. They never got around to it. So by the time that was done with, Josh Boone was like, well, you know what? Most of it is already filmed. We can't do reshoots because, years has passed and seems like we're never going to get this done. Most of the kids that acted in that are older now, so how would that work? But I got to tell you, with no reshoots, I didn't see a problem with it. The tone and pace was just perfect to me. I don't even know why they even brought up reshoots in the first place. I mean, it turned out fine to me. Nothing, to my knowledge, really changed. It was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. I did like this film, but I do have one mixed. Just one. But the impact of this wasn't all that. I mean, it's one of those movies that if you get your hopes high enough, you will be a little disappointed. It's one of those films where you could wait until it gets released on 4K or streaming. It's just one of those that you don't really get that big of an impact as a whole. And I feel like it shouldn't really matter whether or not you should see it on the big screen or not, even though I definitely wanted to. It was always my intentions. But after watching this, I was rolling out of the theater and thinking to myself, you know what? It wasn't all that, but it was okay. I will say this. It was better than Dark Phoenix, just a little bit. But as far as the impact and seeing it on the big screen, it's definitely something that you could probably wait for home media or streaming. And let's move into my negatives. I only have one. The main character, Danielle Danny Moonstar was her character's name. She was supposed to be the main character in this film, and I didn't really get that much from her. There wasn't really that much substance. I didn't get what I wanted from a main character. She's the one that opened up the dialogue at the beginning and closed it at the end. So you knew that she was the main character. And she was one of those that was trying to figure out what her powers are. She's one of those, she's the mystery one that I mentioned earlier. I just didn't get that strong of a vibe out of her. I just felt like she could have done a little more character-wise. Other than that, the film was decent enough. It just wasn't one of those I must go see or I'll die kind of films. It wasn't nothing like that. It was decent. It was fair. The New Mutants isn't bad, but it isn't the greatest. However, if you're looking for a decent horror film with mutants, this is for you. It's an acquired taste. So, the New Mutants, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Did you like the horror elements in it? Did you like the whole tone of the film? Did it live up to your expectations, or did it not? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Stay tuned for more videos and reviews coming soon. I'm hoping to review Tenet for you soon, and Unhinged. Although with Tenet, I keep on hearing that you gotta watch that several times to understand the storyline, so we'll see about that. But anyway, like, subscribe, and comment if you hadn't already, and I'll see you on the flip and the next one. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Peace to Reptastic.